I want to welcome Brian Collins back into class. This is the fourth time he's joined us. This is the third park he's joined us for, or this time not really a park, another planet. So I will turn it over to Brian. He's going to give us a tour. And so take it away, Brian. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks. And class, I hope you guys will forgive me if I'm a little bit abrupt here, but there's like rebel scum all over the place here, and I'm trying to, like, you know, stay low key. Just landed my ship back there. You can see that, and just need to make sure. I'm going to turn the camera around here so that I can you can see while I'm walking. Hang on for a second. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna head over this. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you seen Chewbacca anywhere around? I'm supposed to be meeting Chewie around here.
Let's see. The last time I saw Chewie, he was over in the garage working on some speeders.
In the garage. Okay, I'm gonna hello.
Yeah.
Lots of stormtrooper activity today.
Unfortunately, there has been a lot of stormtrooper activity down by the First Order Outpost.
Wow.
Unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, they landed over here, and now we've been trying to secretly get ready for our response to their landing.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Well, if you see Chewie, tell him I was by here looking for him.
Sure thing. I'll let him know.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, guys. There's my ship. Just came in on that thing. You know, I got all these freaking tourists around here. They like to come around and like take pictures and stuff. Anyway, if you've never been to the Blackspire Outpost, I will tell you this place is just kind of like gone to hell over the past couple of years. I'll tell you, since I was here last, it was a pretty. Oh, look, see, they even have like these droids that they pick up and you know, they're like loitering all over the place like homeless people or something, except they're droids. And you never know around this point what you're gonna see. I'm telling you. Anyway, we're gonna head on over this way. I'm gonna take you guys by the market, and gotta be really careful here because sometimes there's some really kind of creepy people that hang out here. The Blackspire Outpost, actually, I'll tell you a little history. We're on the planet Batuu. And the Blackspire Outpost, if you see up top there, those two spires, you'll kind of see more of those as we're walking around. That's where this place got the name, the Blackspire Outpost. Those are actually fossilized trees that are millions of years old, have been on this planet, and they fossilized over time. And the largest one by the marketplace is actually called the Blackspire. So that's how they got the name, the Blackspire Outpost. This is the marketplace. This is where people come to try and find deals and shop around. Gotta be careful, a couple lightsaber wielding people. There's some folks here that are kind of dressed up in, excuse me, guys. I'm doing a live broadcast at the University of Memphis. How you doing? Great. What's these things on your head? People on Earth aren't familiar with these costumes.
The ears?
Yes. Is that what those are?
Yeah. They're Mickey ears.
Mickey ears.
Yeah.
Okay. So all kinds of strange people around here. How are you doing? Are you from this planet too?
Yes, we are.
Are you? Okay. Hey, have you seen any troopers around, stormtroopers?
Yeah. All around us.
Wow. Okay. Well, keep your head down. You should be okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All kinds of strange folks around here. This is a liquid beverage device. And if you look in the tank here, I don't know if you can see that creature that just popped up in there, but all kinds of weird stuff. Anyway, I don't see Chewie around here either. So we're just going to kind of keep moving on. Let's see what we can find here. The stories I could tell you about this place are crazy. Last time I was here, I was almost blown off one of those bridges by a laser cannon. It was crazy. As we go forward to the left here, this is Olga's Cantina. And kind of a really interesting place. I'll come back there and tell you a little bit about it. Over here up on the right, this place is a pretty battle scar. There's someone else with those weird ears. I've seen those a bunch. I don't know what they are, but this here is, let's see. This is where they bring their vehicles to get repaired. And you might recognize this one. This was my buddy Luke. He had traded this in a long time ago. And how it wound up on this planet, there's that homeless droid again. They're just kind of taking him around. Hang on. Hey, buddy, hope you feel better soon. Anyway, so yeah, I was saying my buddy Luke traded that guy in a while ago, and it wound up here on this planet. It's kind of bizarre. All of the stuff up here in Blackspire Outpost, they've gone ahead and taken this, and you know, they don't get, we're so far out in the galaxy, it's hard to get parts for anything, so they just take what they can and they kind of like slap stuff together and kind of make their own vehicles and stuff. If you look at some of these, you can see that, you know, these speeders are just made up from just different kind of random parts. Some of them are quite ingenious and understand that they can go pretty fast too. Over on the left here, this is actually a Droid Workshop where it's very popular with a lot of tourists. They can come here. Here we go. We backed in. Okay, so this is where people can build droids and stuff. We look around, and this is actually a very, very kind of a cool shop. They come in here. Again, there's like all these tourists. This place is like overrun with tourists. Every time I come here, it gets worse. But see, these little humans here can grab whatever parts they want as they come out on the belt, and they disassemble their parts, and then they can come over here, and they have engineers and technicians that can help them build their own droids. Very cool. Yeah. And let's kind of keep moving here. There's all these souvenir shops too. I don't know what that's all about. You would think you're like at Disney World or something with all these souvenir shops. Jeez. Anyway, keep moving. I think Chewie might be around here. I heard the Millennium Falcon is here for repairs as well. There's some more of these derelict droids here, all over the place. If any of you guys are fans of green milk or blue milk, you can get that here as well. Uh-oh. See, now that's what I was afraid of. You see, this ship here can only belong to one person, and I think we all know who that is. So again, you know, I'm going to try and not stick out too much here, but wow, hopefully we won't run into the big dark guy. Very, very busy plaza here. And over here, there's actually a bar where you can actually get your blue milk or your green milk. And don't know if you can see that over there, but there's a couple of people there. From what I understand, it doesn't taste too bad. It almost looks like it comes out of a Slurpee machine. I don't know. All right. Because we come around here, you see more of these fossilized trees. Very, very, you can tell that there's been a lot of military operations around here. They have these cages all over the place that have all these helmets and all these different things. This guy looks like maybe he lost his head. I don't know. So anyway, as we come around here, there's the bridge I day. Up there we go. There's the Falcon. Okay. So now I think we're getting close to Chewie. Hey, Cody, when are you going to come, Dr. Hayward, when are you going to come with me out here? When are you going to come check this place out with me, huh?
I've been once, and I'm looking forward to going again as soon as possible.
I don't think you've ever been with me, though.
No, I have not.
Oh, so, well, have a good. So there's the Falcon, and let's kind of get a little bit closer look at that. And sometimes you'll see Chewie working around here. Now, last time I was here, they had a really bad problem with porgs. If you remember, porgs are like those little cute little animal things. And they were like making nests and stuff all over the Falcon and in this area. And there was a lot of work they had to go and kind of clean out those nests. Big mess. But that's it's a beautiful ship, huh?
That is one of the coolest sights to walk up and see that panoramic of that. It's pretty awesome.
Okay. And now you know why it beat the Kessel Run, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell when you get up and you see this thing up close. Wow, fantastic. You haven't seen any troopers around, have you? No troopers? Okay. 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 What about Chewie? I'm supposed to be meeting Chewie out here. Have you seen Chewie? Yeah. You know, that Wookiee can never tell time. He's supposed to meet me here 10 minutes ago. I don't get it. Yeah. Hard to miss. I was hoping we'd run into him. Yeah. So we're going to come around here. You can see up top there's another landing pad. And that one looks like it's testing out the engines up there, maybe getting ready to take off. You can see they're firing up. And let's keep coming around here.
And Brian,
yes.
aren't there are 3 sets of numbers on that ship that you showed
Up
up
top.
on the dock up top? Yeah. Those 3 numbers are pretty distinctive.
Yeah, let me see if I can, I might be too close to get a good shot of where they are. Well, see, when I go back down, I'll turn around and see if I can grab a shot of them and show. So this shop here is actually a really kind of a cool shop. This is, I believe this is Doc Ondor's House of Antiquities, and this is a really amazing shop because Doc Ondor has gotten stuff from like all over the world. You can see that out front is a statue from outside of a Jedi temple, and we don't ask the Doc where he got most of these things. If you look inside here, you can see on the wall that's a plaque. That was in actually the office of Senator Palpatine. If you ever watched the movie, and when we saw it in that movie, it was actually in one piece. It actually depicts a Jedi legend, a myth, and you can see here the Jedi and how they're.
Are we looking for anything particular, sir?
I'm doing a live Skype to University of Memphis. Do you want to say hi to the folks there? Have you seen any stormtroopers around?
No, if we do have the stormtroopers, they would probably be by the first order base over there.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to look for them. I will be right out in 1 second. We come in here. The cool thing about in here too is that if you look up around the wall, they have all kinds. All kinds. General, he's got in all kinds of stuff from around the galaxy, right? And I recognize this guy here. Yeah, he doesn't like being messed with too much. But you can see all kinds of artifacts. If you need a kyber crystal for your lightsaber, this is where you come to get one. If you need a robe, if we come over here, there's a wide assortment of lightsabers that you can choose from. Also some other antiquities and creatures. Need a robe? We got you covered. The one front. General there doesn't look like he had too good a day. Looks like General Grievous has had better days. And now we'll come around. This again is the backside of the cantina. And you know how I told you that, like out here at the Outpost, they have to kind of like scrap to make everything that they can get their hands on. So this is actually where they roast different meats and things like that. And you can see that that's actually made from a giant engine from an old ship. And that's what's roasting the meat. The poor droid there looks like he's taking a break, but that's kind of the equivalent of slave labor. He gets to turn the spit all day. Poor guy. So I think I pretty much, Cody, I think I pretty much have done a full walk around through the Outpost. Fortunately, did not run into anyone that I did not want to run into. So does anyone have any questions about what we're doing here or how this place came to be?
Anyone have questions? Remember, probably put in the chat. Might be the easiest way. Brian, there are two kind of experiences people visiting Blackspire Outpost can have. And one of them's actually flying the Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
Can you tell us about those and if you have been able to do those?
I have, of course. I've taken many rides on the Millennium Falcon, one of my favorite ships. You go into hyperdrive in that thing, and boy, you know it. So the way that works is that, and let me see if I can walk back around here. Yeah, this place is like full of tourists. I'm going to turn my camera back around, and I'll explain how you guys can get the experience to go on the Millennium Falcon as well. Give me 1 second. Okay. There we go. Tourists everywhere. You know, I guess you have spring break. It's spring break everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Or I should say everywhere in the universe. Okay, so there we have the Millennium Falcon. And we kind of come around here again, get a little bit easier view of it for you guys. So as you can see, there are lots of these folks who are lined up, and they've got a ticket to go on, and you actually go through and you go inside the what would it be called? Like maybe a transport station?
Yeah.
And after walking through the transport station, you're broken into crews of 4 people each. So you've got your pilot, your co-pilot, your engineer, and I think your gunner. And each one of you is assigned a role. And you go in and you get to sit in the actual cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. And they send you out on a short mission, 5 minutes or so. And you enter hyperdrive, you take off, and if all goes well, you get to like fire the guns and do all kinds of stuff, fly through space to complete your mission. It's incredibly realistic, and it's one of the most awesome experiences I think out here.
And when you, depending on how you do on the flying the Millennium Falcon and on the mission, that impacts the rest of your day at Blackspire Outpost. So if you do a good job, you're treated a little bit better than if you almost wreck the ship, or you're going to come out of it owing a lot of money.
And some of the experience they tie into the Magic Band technology. Magic Bands, and now they're going to a mobile version of Magic Bands, my mobile experience, where you won't need to actually wear the band, but that understands where you've been and what you've done throughout your day while you're visiting Disney, and it can help kind of customize your day and your experience. That being one example that you just talked about.
Brian, there's a few questions from the students. There are some like performance stages there, right? Where some of the people who live at Blackspire Outpost and some of the people visiting make appearances, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's their performance stages. Oh, I just spotted some troopers over here. We'll go over there. I wouldn't say performance stages per se, but you know, they do interact with the guests, and they do interact within the environment. I don't know if you can see on that far area over there, the troopers are kind of keeping an eye on things. And that's a good experience. The timing of your question is perfect, because this is a really good experience example.
And then
Bear with me.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, another student asked, how does Blackspire Outpost, or this version of Blackspire Outpost, how does it compare to being in the other parks? And I know that's sort of breaking the fourth wall a little bit.
Yeah. So this, to me, I think is probably one of the most immersive experiences at Disney that you're going to get. Pandora is kind of similar to this, but Pandora is much smaller. So here, you know, they've really done an amazing job of kind of immersing you everywhere. Even the name tags of the cast members are in 2 languages, right? They're in Arabic and they're in English. So, and if you're a Star Wars fan, then you know that Arabic is actually the official language of the Star Wars universe. So I would say that this is probably the most immersive area that they've ever built. And soon you're actually going to be able to stay in a Star Cruiser, or, you know, a hotel like the Star Cruiser, and they'll give you robes to dress up in, and you get, you know, your lightsabers when you check in, and you're basically completely in character when you're staying in that resort. And when you walk out into here, into the Blackspire Outpost.
And Brian, do you know can you see now where the entrance to the Star Cruiser will be?
No, you can't see it from inside the park yet.
Okay.
They've got it pretty much, you know,
Because-
downstage right now.
Because
Yeah.
that is, correct me if I'm wrong, that is supposed to be part of the story, right? That if you are staying at
Correct.
the Star Cruiser, then you
Correct.
take a transport straight from that hotel. You either walk from there into Blackspire Outpost, or you have some sort of transport that you are not going through the main gates like everyone else. You're going directly into Blackspire Outpost.
That is correct. Yeah, they're going to try and keep it as immersive as possible and not break, you know, like you said, break that fourth wall.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's going to kind of really kind of usher in maybe the next level of experience. You know, you talk about fandom at Disney, and one of the amazing things about where we are right now is that not only do you have people that come here who are incredible fans of Disney, but you've got people who may not necessarily have been fans of Disney, but they're huge fans of Star Wars and the Star Wars universe. So it's really a very symbiotic relationship. And, you know, I'm not a professor of fandom. I only play one on TV. But if I had to guess, I would think that, you know, it kind of like feeds off of each other. So, you know, like I said, if you were maybe a casual fan of Star Wars, but a big fan of Disney, after you come here, you probably have increased your fandom, I guess, if you want to call that, your fandom of Star Wars, and vice versa. It's really amazing what they've done and how they've been able to integrate their IP. They're going to be doing the same thing with Marvel over at Epcot, where y'all be seeing more and more of the Marvel IP over at Epcot.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the Star Cruiser. And can you see the numbers up there? If I don't know how.
It's kind of out of focus, but
yeah. And I can't really zoom in.
What are the numbers on that Star Cruiser?
So there's some large cargo pods inside of it, those black and yellow things, and on the outside of them is a 77, an 80, and an 83. So who wants to guess what those numbers mean?
I think we have a few people in here who probably know 77, 80, and 83, what that has to do with Star Wars.
Yellow.
Yes. So, student, the dates of the original trilogy.
Correct. One of the fun things about Oga's Cantina, last time I was in there, if you guys ever rode Star Tours, right?
Mm-hmm.
The original Star Wars ride that was out here. If you remember, the original pilot in Star Tours was a low droid. And he was actually voiced by Pee Wee Herman. And he actually has taken up residence now inside of Oga's Cantina.
So the other question, and this does sort of break the fourth wall permanently, I think.
Yeah.
Is more from somebody asked, the same person who asked or who said it would be neat to walk into the cantina. From an Imagineering perspective, can you tell us why they chose, or why Blackspire Outpost was chosen rather than something like maybe a Tatooine or another planet that we had known from the movies?
Yeah. So Blackspire Outpost is actually canon. Everything that goes on here is part of Star Wars canon. It actually did appear in an earlier novel for Star Wars. So it wasn't created just for the partnership with Disney. And within the canon of that story, of the original story, the fact that the Blackspire Outpost was kind of like on the outer reaches of space, it wasn't a place that a lot of fans knew about. So we were able to kind of take and expand on that story quite a bit, and it fit into just like I said, the overall story of being like really on the far reaches. In the time frame of Star Wars,
for the health and safety of everyone.
Wait
Face
for
coverings must fully cover your nose and mouth.
Yeah,
And
we
be
know.
worn at all times, except when actively eating or drinking while stationary. Guests that do not conform will be
Yes, to leave. Okay,
wash your
so
hands often and thoroughly. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing, and maintain.
they do take their health very
Thank
seriously.
you for your cooperation.
Okay, so Blackspire Outpost takes place in the far reaches of the galaxy, and as far as time frame, it takes place after between the second and third, well, I guess it'd be the 8th and 9th movies. After Han Solo was killed, and all of that went down, Chewie took the Millennium Falcon and he brought it here for repairs. That's why you see that there's evidence of porgs, because some of the porgs stashed away on the ship. And that really, I think, again, just kind of gave the producers an opportunity to really kind of like build out the story of where they were and why.
Another question that I have is this was the attraction that opened with the land, Smuggler's Run. And the other attraction is quite possibly, quite possibly, I think
it's amazing.
Almost definitely is the most technologically advanced attraction so far built at a Disney theme park. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think in any theme park. So the thing that's amazing about it is that you get your boarding pass and you're put in boarding crews, and when you get into the attraction, the first thing you do is you enter into what appears to be a transport ship. And you're in there with a group of, probably about a dozen or so other people. And the transport ship actually takes off, and the effects in it are quite amazing. You encounter a battle along the way. And then after you land on your transport ship, you actually get out and you find that you've been brought aboard a galactic star cruiser. I'm not sure if that's the right name. I think it is. The Imperial starships. And so you're taken off of your transport ship and you walk through, and they put you in holding cells until, I don't want to give too much of it away, but you make yourself out, away out of the holding cells, and you get onto another vehicle, and that takes you through the Star Cruiser into different rooms and areas of the Star Cruiser until you're able to escape. And the thing that makes it so amazing is that there are so many different kinds of technology intertwined with it. You've got projection technology, you've got audio, you've got live characters, you've got animatronics. It's really just amazing, live actors, and all of that is like brought together and intertwined to create just this amazing experience.
Mm-hmm. And I, since it was asked earlier about like performance spaces, what we're seeing right now for everybody in the class, what we were seeing when we were seeing the First Order ship, that is one of those performance spaces where people will be able to come out and do short performances, not like a full stage show, but it might be a 5 or 10 minute interaction and kind of drama or even action sequence that people will see when they're there. Brian, there was another question. Besides, I believe that was Doc Ondor that we saw. Are there other free roaming audio animatronics walking or around Blackspire Outpost?
I wouldn't say animatronics. I mean, there are definitely characters. You'll see, you'll see Chewbacca walking around. You'll see the stormtroopers actually walking through the plazas here. You'll see different familiar characters from the Rebel Alliance. So yeah, there are definitely different characters, but there are other areas that if you go inside, you might see some animatronics, but they're more like Doc Ondor that we saw in his shop.
And The I don't know if there was anything else you had planned for us to see in Blackspire Outpost, or if you were going to make your way to other lands and other portions of the park. Before I ask, before I ask the last question, I wanted to see, was there other things that you wanted to show everybody?
I think for Blackspire, that's
Okay.
pretty good, but I will go right next door and we'll do a complete 180 from Batuu and the Blackspire Outpost, and we're going to head into Andy's backyard in Toy Story Land. And that's another area that's really kind of fun and immersive as well.
So while we're walking over there, because it has to do with both of them.
Yes.
When Hollywood Studios started, it was and we talked about this when you and I spoke in your one-on-one interview. It was the storytelling park. It was a studio. It was a working studio with animation, with live action. And as a theme park, when that stopped and it became more of a theme park, as a theme park, it has sort of transitioned into this very, very immersive environment, similar to different portions of Animal Kingdom, except there is more kind of IP used in Hollywood Studios and the storytelling. So can you tell us kind of what was the importance behind telling these stories? And this is a different way of telling stories most people are used to seeing.
Really good observation. I remember sitting in a meeting way back in 1990, must have been 1992, early 90s. Just a few years after the Disney, back then Disney and James Studios had opened up. And it was a group of us from Imagineering, and it was a group from the studio operation. Okay, so it was in this meeting, it was a bunch of us from Imagineering and a bunch of folks from the studio operations. And at that time, you know, way back then, this was within 5 years of the park opening, there were discussions about the future of what the park experience was going to be like there, because we knew that the operations, that the film and tape operations were going to be, I don't know if we knew that they were going to be going away completely, but certainly that they were declining. And there wasn't going to be you know, the whole idea when that park was conceptualized and built was that Orlando would become Hollywood East. And there are a lot of reasons why that didn't happen. Primarily was because the state of Florida kind of dropped the ball in terms of giving incentives for film and tape crews to come here, movie crews to come here. And we lost a lot of work to like Atlanta and to Canada and other places. So we knew that things were going to be changing, and we started having conversations, you know, way back then, what the experience would be like. Here we go. So I wouldn't say that at the time we knew that we were going to be doing all these different immersive areas. I think what you're seeing now is kind of like an evolution in how themed entertainment is delivered inside parks. Disney was, I would say, the first park that really kind of had different themed lands. So we had Space Map, you know, Tomorrowland, Fantasyland. In Epcot, we had, you know, all the different countries and pavilions and stuff. But what happened eventually is that, and I think one of the first places where we kind of started kind of dipping our toe in the water and doing this was actually here at the studios in the Muppets area. where we had certain IP products. At that time, it was the Muppets, and we developed an entire land just based around an entire area, just based around themed around the Muppets. And that's what you're kind of seeing now is that, you know, over at Universal, they did an amazing job, obviously, with Harry Potter in creating the Wizarding Worlds. Here at Disney, you're seeing entire areas kind of themed around one specific IP. Here, you know, it's Toy Story. Where we just were Star Wars. When we get back to Epcot, there's going, like I said, there's going to be a lot of Marvel IP taking place over there. So I think that's kind of a trend that you're going to probably be seeing more of. And I think one of the reasons for that is that it gives us the ability as storytellers to kind of be able to go in and kind of tell a more immersive and complete story than just doing it piecemeal. You know, I mean, Star Tours was a fantastic attraction, right? But it was just an attraction that stood on its own. And, you know, it had the story around the attraction itself, but obviously Blackspire Outpost is an entire world with a story. And the attractions, you know, have their stories inside the land. So it really just makes for a much more immersive environment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you know that we have talked about it before, and I've heard a lot of other people talk about it as well, that this is really quite possibly the future of themed entertainment, is this immersion. And if you look at what
yeah,
the Walt Disney Company is doing around their parks,
yeah,
there are Toy Story lands in multiple parks. There's obviously Galaxy's Edge on Star Wars on the East Coast and West Coast in the United States. They are building a Frozen themed land. They're building a Zootopia themed land, and
right.
they're opening Avengers Campus in California Adventure, which will join 2 or 3 other parks that have Avengers themed attractions and kind of mini lands. And so it really is like this future of themed entertainment is this immersion. And as on that topic, as you're walking up to the roller coaster, that is Slinky Dog Dash. Can you tell us kind of the story behind Slinky Dog Dash? Because it's a really, really fun story.
Yes.
Or the
So
theming, I guess.
So first I'll tell you, like, the overall theory of where we are, Toy Story Land, we are actually now in Andy's backyard. And we've been shrunk down to the size of one of Andy's toys. We know we're in Andy's backyard because if you look on the ground there, you can see there's one of Andy's footprints as he's been walking through the yard, and his footprints cut all the way through here. And basically the toys have taken it upon themselves to kind of build their own little amusement park here. And Slinky Dog is one of those. See if we can get a shot. Just saw him coming around. See if we can get a shot. But anyway, if you go, when you're in the queue area for Slinky Dog, one of the fun things is that there's a lot of like little Easter eggs in there, packages and boxes and things like that.
And for anybody wondering, oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
And you know, it's pretty simple. I mean, the idea is that you know, they've taken and turned Slinky Dog into a little roller coaster in Andy's backyard.
And for anybody who is wondering, Slinky Dog Dash is probably the smoothest roller coaster I've ever been on. And it's something that all ages can ride and all ages will have fun on. It's not, it is not what people think of as like kind of a kid coaster at all. It is a full roller coaster, and it is but it is extremely smooth, which is really nice for parents and kids alike.
You can see the entrance to the queue area here. That's actually Slinky Dog's box, and the toys have taken his box and they turned it into like the queue area there. But that's boxing on the side. You know, it shows other famous Slinky toys. It's got all of the instructions. So again, you know, it's a really good example of how, you know, Disney is able to just kind of like keep you really immersed in everything they do. I mean, even the light fixtures here, you know, are designed to look like Lego fixtures, right? I mean, it's really quite fun. And a record set, you know, was used to create the track, the Christmas lights that they found. So.
Yeah, one of the neatest lands, a few students in class have commented saying like Toy Story has been one of their favorite Disney movies, Disney Pixar movies.
It's a wonderful franchise.
This is just it is an incredible themed land to be able to go into, and the food at the toy box, the restaurant.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I was literally just walking over there because I wanted to show them the menu. The food here is really good, and I keep getting hung up because of social distancing. But they've got this Woody's lunchbox here, right? That's the menu, but they've got like Pop-Tarts, but like grown-up Pop-Tarts, and of course you can get like tater tots and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff like that. But they've got all kinds of like really kind of creative dishes that they've made using traditional kids, you know, kid-friendly food.
Yeah. So in the entrance to Toy Story Mania is in Toy Story Land now. It's no longer on Pixar. I forget that the portion that they call Pixar Boulevard or
Boulevard, I think.
It's now you go into the ride and exit the ride. If I'm not mistaken, about where you're showing us right now.
Yep, this is it right here. And again, you know, it's really fun because the outside of the building looks like a old toy box that they've opened up and created the queue area. You can see the pencil holding up the little flap there. You see the crayons in front. And the Midway playset, you know, it's just they've just done such a fantastic job of theming everything here. I love it. The other thing that you notice too is the use of color here in Blackspire Outpost, where everything was, you know, dusty and dark and grimy. Here in, you know, Toy Story Land, everything is primary colors and bright. You hear the music. I don't know if you can hear the music or not, but the music's really kind of upbeat and fun.
So. Somebody asked, do the Christmas lights, do the
light
Christmas
up?
Looking lights, do they light up at night?
They do. Of course. They're real Christmas lights. Why wouldn't they? Sure. So, and now as we exit Toy Story Land, now we're heading back into the what used to be the back lot of the studios in the backside of the Chinese theater.
Brian, if you can tell us, based on a lot of the students last week was the week that we listened to and watched your interview and watched the other walkthroughs that you've done. But you did a lot of work at Hollywood Studios. So if you could kind of recap and talk a little bit about the stories you have and the things you have done.
Oh my gosh.
At Hollywood Studios.
Well, this was actually where most of my work took place back in the day, because again, the studio was still pretty fresh and new back then. And there was still a lot of production going on. And a big part of my job, I was a show writer for Imagineering, which meant not writing shows, but writing for the Disney show. So that meant writing like scripts and spiels for the attractions and creative plaques and copy for the parks and that kind of thing. And one of the, probably one of the biggest projects I worked on was the Great Movie Ride, where I went in and I kind of plussed the script. That was the marquee attraction that was inside the Chinese theater, which we're just kind of coming up to the side of now. Great Movie Ride, unfortunately, went away a couple years ago, was replaced with another amazing attraction called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. But I also used to update the tour scripts when we would do like studio tours. I worked in the other parks too. I actually wrote one of the first, I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but I wrote one of the first walking tours for the Magic Kingdom years ago.
No. That's really cool.
So that was really fun. And I did a bunch of stuff in Epcot. So
somebody asked a really great question, and there's you and I have talked about it before, kind of a great story or an interesting story behind it. Why was the Great Movie Ride replaced?
You know, they didn't ask me. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a seat here for a second.
Perfect. Great.
Kind of easier than walking and talking, and turn the camera around so you guys can see my ugly mug with my mask. Hang on for 1 second. So if I had to speculate, I think there were a lot of things that kind of went into that decision. One was the fact that it was tied into all of the classic MGM movie musicals and films. And there was a lot of licensing involved with that. And I think as the licenses began to expire, it was both an economic and a creative decision not to continue them. And they realized that Mickey Mouse never had his own attraction. So they thought, you know, what better time than to create a amazing attraction for the big cheese himself. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. No, I mean, that's one of the more interesting, like the kind of the when I've heard people talk, and I've talked to people about the IPs that were used in the Great Movie Ride and how everything was expiring or coming up on expiration. And so it was a way to try to deal with that, just like you said, which I think is such an interesting kind of backstory behind a retheming that a lot of people really, really love the Great Movie Ride. I did. I know you did because you worked on it. And a lot of people really love the new attraction that has taken its place. So
that one was a little tough one to see go away. I will tell you. You try not to get too attached to your work because you know it's just part of what happens. As Walt Disney said, Disney World's always going to be changing and evolving. And that certainly is probably more true in this park than any other park. But when you put that much of yourself into an attraction, it's kind of hard not to feel kind of sad seeing that one go away.
So there were 2 more things that I was thinking, and one is since it looks like you're closer to that side of the park,
Yeah.
could you walk us over toward like the Indiana Jones
Right there.
Epic Stunt Spectacular
Epic.
and
Yeah.
Muppets?
Yeah.
And then while we're doing that, when we were walking out of Toy Story Land, we saw the Tower of Terror. We saw the Hollywood Hotel.
Yes.
And two really, really interesting things with that. First, can you talk about the story of Twilight Zone Tower of Terror? And then that building actually looks different on the front side than it does on the back side. Can you tell us why?
It does. Yes. And that's not unusual. So I'll first tell you why the building has two different looks to it. Again, remember I talked about the fact that with these new thematic areas that we're building lands, part of the thing is that we can immerse our guests into the environment much more than we've ever been able to do before. That was actually going back to when Walt Disney created Disneyland. One of his biggest regrets was that he didn't have enough land to build the park and kind of shield it off from the outside world. So when you were on the Matterhorn or the Skyway or different attractions, even from ground level at Disneyland, it was very easy to kind of see beyond the berm and see that you were not, it kind of took you outside of the world of Walt Disney World that Walt had created. So when he came and he built Disneyland or Disney World, he bought more land than he could have ever needed to be able to make sure that wasn't going to happen. When you were inside of a park, he wanted you to stay inside that park, not worry about the outside world. Now, as we've grown and, theme parks have evolved, sometimes what will happen is y'all might put a building up and it'll be visible because of its height or size or whatever. It'll be visible from other parts of the park. Tower of Terror is a good example of that, where not only is it visible within the Disney Studios park, but it's also visible from Epcot as well. So when they built Tower of Terror, most of what you can see inside the park looks, is themed to look like the Hollywood Hotel. But if you catch a glimpse of the building from outside the park in Epcot, the place in Epcot where you can see the Tower of Terror from is the Moroccan World Showcase. So they themed the backside of it to kind of blend in a little bit more with the Moroccan landscape. So it just looks, like a building off in the distance in Morocco. Again, that's a pretty common technique that they use quite a bit in the theme parks. They're building the Tron roller coaster over in the Magic Kingdom now, which is a Tomorrowland attraction, but it backs right up to Fantasyland. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they deal with that and how they retheme the backside of that.
Well, and on, excuse me, since you brought up the Magic Kingdom, like I more recently learned that the one area in the Magic Kingdom that you are supposed to be able to see out of the park is actually Tomorrowland. So you can see the Contemporary Resort because that was fitting with the theme of Tomorrowland. So they purposely allowed people sightlines to see the Contemporary from the Tomorrowland themed area.
Correct. That's why you don't have the Polynesian over there. You've got the Polynesian behind Adventureland, right?
Yeah.
So same idea. This is, I wanted to show you this. You had asked me about the story for the Hollywood Tower Hotel. And this is something that's really kind of fun for me. So we're kind of walking down just coming into Sunset Boulevard right behind me. And there's a little plaza area in front of like a movie theater where people can kind of sit and just kind of relax. But there's a big billboard up there too. And I don't know how clear you can see the billboard, but if you look at it, it's an old billboard for a Hollywood Tower Hotel. And it shows that the story behind the Hollywood Tower Hotel is that it was the place where all the celebrities went, like back in the 1930s. And so like in its heyday, it was like the place, right? They had grand balls and, you know, it was like, you know, 5-star hotel and the finest restaurants and everything. And then that silly incident happened with the elevator where it was struck by lightning and people got in and they never got off. From that point forward, people considered the hotel haunted, and it kind of went into disrepair over the years. But if you look at this, this is again just to me, I think a beautiful example of how Disney themes things. If you look at it, it looks like this, like a really old kind of beat up billboard, and you think, well, man, in Disney, they don't like let things get into that much disrepair, do they? And the answer is no, they don't. That's actually looks like that on purpose because that's supposed to be a billboard left over from the 1930s that's promoting the Hollywood Tower Hotel and showing what it looked like back in the day. As we kind of come around the corner here, we'll spin around and you'll actually get to see the hotel. Let me see if we can come around. And there's the hotel kind of peeking around Hollywood Boulevard. Make sure I don't get run over by a stroller. And you can see all the damage on the front of it. And that was from where the lightning strike hit the hotel. Originally, when the attraction opened, it was themed to the Twilight Zone. It was called the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. And again, I believe a licensing issue, is why it's not referred to as Twilight Zone Tower of Terror anymore. But it's really just a beautiful looking job that they did with the facade to make it look like this old beat up Hollywood Tower Hotel. So that's that. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to walk down towards the Indiana Jones area that you asked about. Something that's really interesting too about Sunset Boulevard here is that all of these facades are really based on real Hollywood landmarks. So if you look at like this theater, it's got the sign for the Majestic. There's actually an old theater in Hollywood called the Majestic, which is what this is designed after. There's actually right behind us, if you can see between the palm trees with that big tower, the orange tower there. That's actually designed after a old movie theater called the Carthay Circle, and that holds a place in Disney history because the Carthay Circle is where Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered. So there's a homage to that.
It's such a neat area. I mean, and the more and more that you talk about it, and it really was like Hollywood Studios, in addition to being a working studio when it opened.
Yeah.
When they opened Sunset Boulevard, it really kind of transformed into this like original themed land. The whole park is supposed to be representative of old Hollywood, or quote unquote old Hollywood, when Walt Disney and his brother first moved to California and were starting their company. It's just a really, really neat story. this whole, the way that they use this whole park.
As a matter of fact, speaking of that, this is a bronze statue that they have of Walt Disney showing when Walt was younger, in his young days as a young filmmaker in Hollywood. So,
Very cool.
and you see shooting out onto a Sunset Strip there.
And for so the students, earlier we passed by, Brian walked by the Brown Derby, and just a trivia point, the Brown Derby is the restaurant where, according to Bob Iger's book, Bob Iger met with George Lucas, and that was where they had their initial conversations about Disney purchasing Lucasfilm.
Yes. So these are some fun little Easter eggs. I always like to point these out as we're walking by, but this here is a called the Dockside Diner. Usually when it's open, you can get hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. But you can see these large crates on the dock here. And if you go up close here, I don't know, if you guys read that and see where it's being shipped to? Rick Lane, Rick's Cafe American from Casablanca.
Yeah.
And then if you come down here and you look at this one, this is from Wainwright Enterprises, and this is being shipped to George Bailey in Bedford Falls, New York.
Very neat.
Yeah.
I never noticed those before.
Yeah.
Never paid attention to those.
Yeah. As we come across the lake, this is called Echo Lake, and over there you see Gertie the dinosaur. We'll come back and talk about her in just a second. But again, another kind of fun little detail. If anyone is a fan of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I love that movie. You look up there up on the second floor, you can see Eddie Valiant's office, and you can see where Roger escaped through the, not where he escaped, but yeah, escaped through the window up there. Can you see that?
Yes.
The blind?
Yeah, we can. That's awesome.
Up here is the Prime Time Cafe. I actually worked during the grand opening of the studios, and one of the things I did was help some TV crews out. And back then, there was the morning show live with Regis and Kathy Lee, right? But they actually taped live from here, and on the inside, it looks like a 1950s environment. And so we taped a little segment in there where they dressed up like George and Rob, or like Rob and Laura Petrie from Dick Van Dyke Show, and did a really cute little sketch. I'll show you some more little Easter eggs. If you come around here, this is like a stairway to nowhere. I go like apartments, but if you look at the mailboxes, they've all got different names on them, and those names are all names of different Imagineers that worked on the parks and stuff. T. Kirk is a friend of mine, Tim Kirk. He actually programmed a lot of the audio animatronics. And so, yeah, so they've got kind of like their little bit of legacy and posterity here in the park.
Yeah. That reminds me, Brian, sometime we will just have to have a conversation of all the places around Walt Disney World that Imagineers, like there are homages paid to Imagineers, because they're in every park. They're in Disney Springs. They're in all the hotels. Like it's such a neat way to kind of pay honor to the history of who was responsible for a lot of this work.
So this is Dinosaur Gertie's, and I got to show you this because I actually wrote and designed this little plaque here. And it's one of the few things left in the park. that's still got my actual thumbprint on it. So
Very cool.
not incredibly impressive and important, but for me it's kind of fun because like it's one of the last things that I can take people and go and say, hey, look, I did that. These are some footprints from Dinosaur Gertie that she left. And the fun thing about the footprints is that she actually came down these stairs up here. And you know she came down the stairs because you got like the footprints here where she cracked the concrete and then she just kind of walked over to pull off there. This is the front of the Indiana Jones theater. And again, you know, I hate to do this, guys, but I'm going to have to pull like the pixie dust Band-Aid off and everything. But, you know, again, just one of the cool little details is this little Jeep that is kind of like crashing through this fence, you know, with all this mud. But of course, this mud and dirt isn't real. It's all like, you know, concrete. We have a whole group of Imagineers whose job it is to do like the sculpting and painting of concrete to make it look like natural environments. It doesn't look like trees and dirt and things of that nature.
And the students, some of the students will know about the Epic Stunt Show Spectacular because another of our guest speakers actually was someone who played Indiana Jones. Oh, and look, there's a character cavalcade.
That's right. We got the big cheese coming. Everyone wait for Mickey.
And that is the theme song from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, everyone.
Yes, it is. Boy, you get points for knowing that one. So this is another kind of interesting little detail that I like to point out. Usually not when guests are all around and everything, but so this isn't from the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular theater. And out front, they've got all kinds of like props and stuff themed to the movie. One of the things that's really interesting is that Disney, obviously, there was a dilemma because Indiana Jones takes place in Nazi Germany. And if you look at all of these props here that they have, the ammo cases and boxes and things, a lot of them have got like the Nazi insignia, but if you go in and you look closely at it, you'll see that there's no swastikas. They actually made like subtle changes so that there purposely wouldn't be swastikas inside the theme park, but it would still kind of stay with the theming.
That's very, very, very neat. Very neat detail. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think we have a few minutes left. Are there anyone in the class, any more questions you want to put into the chat, or maybe you had a question that I missed in the chat that you put up again? And then on that same note, Brian, anything else as we walk over towards Star Tours and Muppets, anything else that you want to share with everyone about Hollywood Studios?
You know, I think this park is a really good example of how Disney is constantly evolving and changing. due to a whole variety of circumstances. You see that happening now at Epcot, like I said. You know, when Epcot reopens up the front area, what used to be called Future World, it's not going to look anything like it used to. You know, that's one thing certainly I learned, and something I've kept with me my entire career, is how important it is to kind of, you know, be flexible with the times, be flexible and agile as a company, and to listen to your guests and your customers, right? A lot of times when these big, huge, sweeping changes are going on, especially in Disney, you know, people are very passionate about our theme parks. And I like to think for good reason. And when you start messing with it and changing it, and especially if you do that and they don't understand why you're changing things, they get really kind of defensive and opinionated about whether you should or you shouldn't, and how great it, you know, the changes are going to be before they're even done. And I will tell you that most of the time, people are very welcoming of the changes that we make, and they're very well received. But there's a lot of growing pains to get there. And I think that's something that Disney has learned over the years is, you know, how important it is to communicate with your guests as you're evolving and making those changes.
Yeah.
So.
And there we see Muppets Plaza. So, and Brian, thank you so much for doing this. Again,
You're welcome.
This is the fourth time you've talked to the class. This is the third park that we've been in, and we'll do more in the future as well. But it's always great to have the Imagineering perspective. I think it really helps give everybody kind of a glimpse behind the curtain, if you will, and help to kind of engage people's fandom as well. So thank you so much, Brian.
You're very welcome. Always fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of taking a walk.
Yeah, and you
kind of go on.
You can't see it in the chat, but the thank yous are rolling in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
From everybody in the class. So thank you.
Well, any of you guys, when you come down to Orlando and come visit, look me up and I'll take you on a, you know, face-to-face walk through the park.
And if Brian does that pretty frequently, if you follow him on social media, he's posting about the things that he's doing. You can keep up with that and kind of see.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Follow me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, my website, www.wwdwithme.com. Shameless plug, sorry.
No. Great. All right. Thank you so much, Brian. Have a good rest of the day.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.